Oxford Group, the largest Brazilian consulting firm in the United States for over 40 years, presents Economy and You. Brought to you by Lee Ferreira Araujo Law. 3 decades of experience in immigration in the United States.
Good evening, dear listeners. Today we have a very special program once again. Today we are going to profile the people who are moving the world nowadays, as the entrepreneurial capacity of these groups often lacks recognition. We are going to talk about women, entrepreneurial women, how important they are in today's world, and how much more important they will become as this female empowerment increases and men stop being so chauvinistic and stop competing with them, but instead join their efforts. For this program, we have invited Juliana Armond from the Grupo Mulheres do Brasil, and she is surely one of the most knowledgeable people in the field. An entrepreneur, yes, a total master of economic data. My dear Juliana, it's a great pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. The pleasure is all mine. And it's very important, for you to give a voice to economy and you. So economy and women today, thank you very much for that.
Let's begin. Here in the United States and some countries, women are considered a minority, right? They start to have certain privileges. And as many people say, when you enter into these privileges, often instead of helping, it hinders, because it takes away a bit of the value of that minority or so-called minority in business development, in competence. I remember Condoleezza Rice when they asked her, why are you a candidate? Are you going to serve a party if you are part of the minority? And she replied, well, I am serving this party as Secretary of State because it recognized my value, not because I am a minority. Because there really is a tension or intention to devalue sometimes more than to help the so-called minorities. Let's talk about women, please, Juliana. How important are women in today's world?
Yeah, the importance of women in today's world, she has moved, right, from that role of supporting the family, supporting the husband, perhaps even supporting the family, being the breadwinner, as we say, to being a protagonist, right? To put her unique talent in the service of a society that can also be valued and then turn that into something more. We are really looking at talent as a business. And this is no different for women here in the United States, which is the immigrant woman who still has a peculiar part that she leaves her comfort zone, leaves that talent or that profession, that career she is in Brazil to work in a new market. And this new market is very challenging. But for a woman, nothing is challenging. So the resilience of women, the skill, right, the ability to manage the family, she transforms this into business management. And we see this very clearly within businesses. But here's an interesting thing. With so much creativity, so much commitment, so much persistence and resilience, why is it that for 5 out of every women who start businesses, the average lifespan of a business is 2 years before leaving the market or 5 years with many challenges? It's a question for us to really reflect on, right? What is missing to support this woman who, as you yourself said, is a minority? And this minority, is it really a minority, or does the woman see herself as a minority and not take ownership of the talent she actually came to occupy in the business market and contribute to a stronger society, especially to a stronger economy?
Yeah, when you mentioned that she left that role of motherhood, of being the breadwinner, of being the caregiver of the home, we have a view that this is not a very fair stereotype, right? Because in reality, she didn't leave them behind. She accumulated them. So she maintains all of her obligations as a mother, as a wife, as the manager of the home, and starts to have an additional role in life. Yeah, on that point, do you believe that might be one of the explanations for why even today, I mean, for every 10 new companies, 8 are started by men and a little less, or maybe 7 or 8 or 6 by women. Is it a fear of entering, a lack of support, a lack of vision from the collective or the business community, in the sense of seeing how much this business community would be gaining by giving more opportunities to women?
I don't believe it's fear. Quite the contrary. I believe it's an act of courage, but a lack of knowledge in business management, a lack of support, really, with tools and special programs for women. As was well said here, she doesn't leave the roles that she has always had. She accumulates this role, but she does, yes, stop making her business a priority. The man, he has that priority, and it's his sole priority. The woman, she perhaps doesn't have as much success, and in 2 years, her business has a high chance of closing, in 5 years of not being profitable, exactly because she doesn't place the business as a priority. I believe that it is, that if everything is fine, it's really not meant to be, because the woman has a very important role in the family, in society, a feminine positioning. She shouldn't let that stop being a priority. But it is very interesting that there are programs that offset, right, that bridge this gap that she needs, this extra support that she needs, so that her business can really be a priority. And often women start entrepreneurship out of necessity, and not because one fine day they wake up and say, today I'm going to be an entrepreneur. It is rare for women to start entrepreneurship out of purpose. She starts out of necessity. And this necessity, if it is profitable, she discovers talent and purpose there, and it becomes a long-lasting business. She starts making partnerships, or her necessity becomes a business of simply, how do we say it? Putting out fires. And that is where society can contribute. And that is where programs specific to women can contribute to this woman's growth. Instead of her just putting out fires, let's take this talent, this capacity, and give her what she is truly capable of developing. Without needing to choose, this isn't a pick and choose, right? It's not, I choose between family or career here. I choose between marriage or being a successful woman. That's not true. We are capable of having this, not balance, because balance doesn't exist. Balance is stagnation, right? Stagnation is anti-innovation, which is the success of any business. But we can, yes, have this clarity that partnerships, collaboration makes it so that this woman most certainly can and should have the business success that is compatible, right, with her talent and her ability.
In macroeconomic terms, the World Bank says that if women had income equality with men because they have the same competence or more, I'm very comfortable saying this because I always work with 2/3 women and 1/3 men. I trust more in the development of women within our company. And the World Bank says that this could represent a 20% increase in global GDP if women had the same earnings value as men. Today, women already own more than 14 million businesses, which generate $2.8 trillion. How do you see this situation? Is it really just equivalent to, if we increase it by 20% by letting women earn the same as men, will we have the chance to actually be able to increase GDP by those 20%?
I believe that the increase in GDP, it is relatively proportional to that action in the economy. It's really no use just giving economic equivalence to women on paper. You truly have to go further and empower her with the right management tools and resources so that this important result can actually be achieved in the long run. Because look closely, men spend 90% of their time, excluding family, leisure, and partnerships, focused on this business. So it's no use simply equalizing salaries or giving this equivalence to women if society and plan And if there isn't a tool or several tools or several programs so that she can indeed have this contribution and this GDP result be even more than 20%, because a woman's capacity is far above male capacity, not disregarding men, simply due to the fact that she manages a life, she manages emotions, she manages a family. So she has always been doing this training. So when she arrives at a company and she has the capacity, the space to put everything she has been practicing throughout her life into practice, most certainly this percentage, it can be even higher. Because look, in the objective of in the SDGs, right? Let's talk about the 17 UN SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals, because there has to be sustainability. Otherwise, she enters in 2 years, and in 5 years, she's already out of the market. This work and this economic growth is important, right? Which is SDG number 8, which we also advocate for. Quality education, it's no use just having good intentions and having a lot of persistence and resilience. The partnership and means of implementation. It is necessary indeed to have means of implementation so that this skill, resilience, and creativity of women can be transformed into results without them getting sick and without them making their family sick, without them having to make this trade-off, which is, yes, so guilt-ridden that women carry in order to achieve this success. This is the market vision I have when we operate in a market that is primarily international.
One more question, Juliana. Leadership, right? The numbers say, right, that we women are responsible for an amount of only 22.9, 23% of companies, but that when the company is theirs, they have total control of the company. Women already account for 42% of companies under their ownership.
Yeah.
Apparently, the number leaves us with a question. Is it that women are more successful on their own due to their competence, creativity? And could it also be that they have had limitations in exercising leadership in companies, and that's why only 23% of companies that have several employees have a woman as the main executive?
I believe it's the second option. Yeah, in my practice, having practiced here in the United States for over 20 years, I believe the second option is more accurate in the following sense. When a woman is in a leadership position, she is collaborative. She doesn't have the "I'm going to go it alone" spirit. Quite the contrary, a woman usually pulls another one up when she doesn't feel threatened. And when she is in a predominantly male corporate environment, her voice diminishes. And this stage for her, so that she can be heard, is also quite restricted. So I believe that when the leader, if the woman having the leadership, she brings more solutions to the table because her collaborative spirit is greater. And she has this vision, right? What we also call business intuition. She has that business intuition that doesn't come from data, doesn't come from the analysis of any data center. Yeah, I believe that she really has the capacity to lead with all these points that are unique to women. It's unique. No other being, right, has this skill, this ability to put all of this together to really occupy a leadership space. And we don't see this in reality. What we see in reality is that the roles, the leadership positions are increasingly restricted, and they are very difficult in a very challenging corporate journey where women have to prove their worth. That is true. A man says no, it's not no. It's not required of him to justify that no in a leadership position. When a woman says no in a leadership position, a justification is expected of her, and often not just a justification. She still has to prove her competence, resilience, and skills. So it is more challenging.
Juliana, and on this point, in these aspects, right? I always understand that women as entrepreneurs, they are usually more loyal, more dedicated,
Yeah.
and less ambitious in the bad sense. She she usually tends to be faithful to where she works until she reaches leadership roles, whereas with men, we we always have that concern that once he learns, he will look for another alternative. Do you feel this reality of women's loyalty to where they have, let's say, the focus of their activity?
I do see this as a reality. Women have a great ease in helping and collaborating when there is no financial transaction involved. She helps her neighbor, her sister, her aunt, friend. She doesn't even consider that in doing that she is putting a talent, a skill of hers into practice. And she does it without thinking. But if a price is put on that same activity, she freezes. She freezes due to a lack, I strongly believe, of self knowledge, of value positioning, self worth. And she doubts that when there is a price, oh, that thing starts to become, it has already turned into a business. Then she doubts even though the activity is the same, she helped her friend in the same way, put a price on it, and she freezes. This is a reality for the female entrepreneur, especially when she starts on this journey. And that is why I keep hitting this point again. It's not just about giving space and a stage to women. It is necessary to have self-development and training programs so that she can overcome, so that she can flip the switch on this mindset that once a price is set, the business has already become something different. But actually, no, if it is priced, well priced, that is when she becomes part of the economy, of this economic growth. That is when she will be able to help other women open other businesses, other ventures. So this mindset needs to be worked on. And we are counting on programs, initiatives, and women's groups that can empower these women.
Perfect. It means that deep down women are naturally supportive. But when this attitude of solidarity implies that she gains something from it, she gets scared because a woman's moral, ethical, and solidarity values are even stronger than those of remuneration for the good she is doing. Did I understand your point correctly?
I that is my point. And if she understands that her remuneration is what will make the difference not only in her family but for others, because what is society? A set of families. If she can, if she, yeah, provides for her family with lightness, with tranquility, with positioning, several butterfly effects will happen and she will contribute to a better society, correct? The economy will grow, and then yes, the 20% of the GDP will increase, correct?
Wonderful. I'm going to ask you for 15 seconds so we can go to a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
For over 20 years, the Leaf Pereira de Araujo law firm has been providing quality, customized services to professionals, business owners, and investors coming to the United States. It also represents with excellence companies employing foreigners on a temporary or permanent basis. We understand that each client's case is unique and requires a specific approach. We maintain clear and objective communication with the client. Get in touch to find out more. leaflaw.com.
Well, now, a question for someone who has the experience of an entrepreneur in Brazil and in the United States. Do you feel there is any difference between the woman who, for whatever reason, came to live in the United States and the woman who still stayed in Brazil?
Stark. I see a stark difference. First, the woman, the entrepreneur who achieves her success, and each one has a definition of success. We are not talking here only about financial success. She had to make a mindset shift because unfortunately, the underdog mentality, the stray dog mentality follows the immigrant until the day she arrives and says, wait a minute, I think I'm not a stray dog. No, I am of a breed with an extremely fantastic pedigree, and I have a lot to contribute to this market that I am currently in. That's when she really makes a difference. And the big The big difference is the turning point, because it's not enough to just immigrate. It's not just about being here in the United States for you to be successful in every sense of your life, especially in personal fulfillment. Because if the mindset doesn't change, you continue to do business in another geographic market the same way you did in Brazil. And that mindset is glaring. Brazilians have a lot of creativity. And having this creativity within a market that has many tools that can be combined with this creativity, they go very far. And that is it's a big life purpose of mine, actually. It's about bringing this mindset shift to Brazilian women in Brazil so they have more tools, and the opposite, bringing from Brazil and empowering our Brazilian community here, the power of creativity. So creativity with tools is a fantastic development that will decrease more and more every day this gap, this difference that exists between entrepreneurship in Brazil and entrepreneurship here. Not to mention the rules, not to mention our politics, not to mention the external factors. I'm not taking external factors into consideration here. I'm focusing on the internal factor of this same Brazilian woman entrepreneur in Brazil versus entrepreneur in the United States, and what differentiates the final result. And I believe the final result is a change in mindset and taking ownership of one's talent, of the skills, and with business tools, then there's really no stopping them.
Juliana, we are going to have a meeting now, for the women. I'm going to ask you two questions. One, which entity is organizing this meeting and what is its objective?
The entity that is organizing it is an NGO from the Mulheres do Brasil group. The institutional headquarters is in São Paulo. Our president is Luisa Trajano, who has several international chapters. And the chapter that is organizing this is the South Florida chapter, which has 5 leaders heading this board, with several leaders collaborating, each with their own committee. And when I say this, it's already an example of collaboration among women, and the need that women have to be here in South Florida and be supported by a group with this relevance, where we are more than 140,000 women spread around the world. The goal of the Summit Americas 2026 is not just to be an event. We are a movement that creates an increase in the South Florida economy among Brazilians, so that our community becomes truly more relevant every day and makes a difference among sponsors, which are companies, exhibitors, which are the entrepreneurs, the NGO, not only from South Florida, as we have the NGO from Washington, from New York, and from other states, and also successful women as panelists, so that we can talk more and more about this empowerment workshops. In other words, it's not just an event, it's a movement that will take place on October 31st in Fort Lauderdale at the Westin Hotel.
Still on this event, will it be a Luluzinha club, women-only club, or will there be an integration with the Bolinha Span at the event as well?
I love it. Our president, Luisa Trajano, says 2 things that are very important. We are in favor of women, but we are not against men. So that already answers your question, because we want to lead together with them. We don't want to lead either above or below. So all companies managed by men are extremely welcome and necessary. And also, it won't just be female entrepreneurs. They are businesswomen, they are speakers, they are community projects as well, so that we can really make a difference. And it's a movement, not an event. What's the difference? The event happens on one day from such and such hours at a certain location. The movement, it continues after this event. So we really came to make the wheel turn. Luisa Trajano also says, let's stop reinventing the wheel, people. Let's get the wheel turning. And there is a lot happening in our Brazilian community that isn't known. So there is the great opportunity to sponsor, to be a part of it, to be an exhibitor at Summit Americas 2026.
Wonderful. Let's go into a little detail about where women have been standing out. I see that in service areas, whether it's in the medical profession, in the healthcare field, right? I have no doubt at all that women have been standing out and surpassing men like in giant strides ahead, right? In the corporate area, we still have this situation that you've already commented on very well, of a difference in opportunities in terms of companies where she exercises leadership, companies where she is, let's say, on her own. Yeah, how would one explain this fantastic success of women in terms of the area of, let's say, services for not just social services, but highly professional services in law, in and so many other fields, right? And not in it still hasn't reached the corporate area as much. What made these women stand out in services, in the intellectual part, in the scientific preparation that has distanced itself. And today in this area, there is no discrimination. On the contrary, there is a search, right? Teachers and so on. Yeah, what does this example of success in other areas bring us for entrepreneurship?
It's the I believe that entrepreneurship, she had the idea, she uses her strength and resilience to make it happen. When she enters other areas that are not service based and where she perhaps depends on deeper knowledge, she depends on getting a master's degree, she depends on understanding the market a bit. She was an executive in Brazil, but here the market is different. This holds her back a bit, and this makes her either give up or doubt herself. And that is why, once again, groups, entities, and being together with other people, other women, this is inspiring, because when the service depends a lot on her and is very operational, yeah, maybe it doesn't need as much of the management skill. And even if she's putting out fires, she makes it happen. When she moves on to a C-level role, and for her to make this change, perhaps in the legal area, in the administrative area, in the consulting services area, this already carries some weight because it depends on market research and international understanding, a global understanding. She moves a little bit away from the local, from her locality, from the geography she is so accustomed to. That is my understanding.
Right. So in this case, you see that, but it is a path to be followed, isn't it? Because we see in accounting, in the dental sector, in the medical sector in general, right, in research mainly, women standing out, right, in an exemplary way. It is a fantastic thing. The search that always exists for something that is, let's say, directed by women. And I believe that perhaps at this meeting in November, we can, in some way, as you said, it is a movement, not an event, right? Bring these fundamental focuses, because the world has only to gain. If the World Bank says that we would increase the world's GDP by 20%, so necessary in the current crises, just by giving women the opportunity to earn the same as men. And if we can highlight women as a productive factor, using their creativity, their resilience, without a doubt, we would be heading towards a better world. But I wanted to highlight one more point, although one last point perhaps, which is the issue of understanding justice. Women, I believe, have more, let's say, attunement with justice, with social outcries, with, as you put it, when talking about money, women might be more reserved. When she is doing volunteer work, she is always much more proactive. Do you believe that women can help in the sense of a better world?
I am absolutely certain she not only can, but she already does. And this better world begins within her. When she takes ownership of her talent, when she takes ownership of who she is, of her skills, of how she can be useful in the world, and especially when she sees her life's purpose. And this life purpose, it is ceasing to be just about raising children and having a good family or being a good citizen, to having a life purpose, a legacy. Women are now entering this awareness that they are not only contributors to a strong economy, to a better world, and yes, they can leave a legacy after they are gone. That makes all the difference. That is the big difference, I believe, between the feminine and the masculine. We are very concerned with this issue of leaving our history written, not only here in the United States, but globally, for sure.
Juliana, so what conclusion would you give to our reader? Not just about the event, but what is the message as a woman that you give to the corporate world?
I'll start, what I'm seeing here on my screen, right? Economy and you. It's not economy and the other, it's economy and you. In other words, it starts with you. It is you who has the self-knowledge. You have your talent, the external factor. Wherever you are, there will be challenges. Politics in Brazil is one thing. Politics in the United States is another. This will be a variable. But you are not the variable, and you have a differentiator that only you have. That is already the differentiator. And it is this differentiator that you will use to make an impact on our economy, in our world, and leave your legacy there. So start with yourself.
Wonderful, Juliana. Thank you very much for your time, for answering our call to be with us. Success at the event now, which isn't an event, it's a movement, right? And that
Very well. It is an event. It is a movement. Very good.
may it run wonderfully and bring this message of yours to the heart of each person present, whether women or men, so that we can improve the world and, in particular, the world's GDP, which is our focus, the economy. Yes, in an exemplary way, starting with women. Thank you very much again for your participation.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well, ladies in particular, gentlemen, we had a lesson on the importance of women in our economy, on how much we owe them and how much we can benefit by increasing the level of women's participation in the decision-making process and in entrepreneurship as a whole. Good night to everyone. Please continue following us. We have good and interesting programs ahead. Good night.